Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. It is Coach Cece here, and today I'm going to walk you through how I plan my practices for an entire week. Something that I've been trying to do a lot more as a coach is just be more intentional about everything that I do, because I found the more intentional that I am, the better my players develop and the better our teams do. So me just throwing together a practice plan on a notes app as I'm going to practice is not going to help my team develop. So I've made it a point to sit down at the beginning of the week and plan out my entire week of practices so I know exactly what our team needs to do to ensure that everything that I want to get done gets done. Now, big thing here is even though I'm planning out a full week of practices, I still allow some flexibility within my plans. Because obviously things happen, kids get sick, the plans don't go according to plan, which is honestly what happened last week, and I had to pivot my plan to cater towards something else that we needed to work on. I had a whole practice plan planned out last week, and it included doing serve receive. But as we started the drill, my players kept missing their serves over and over and over again. And obviously, if we're trying to work on our passing, our serve need to be there. So that showed me that we needed to work more on our serves, so I pivoted the plan, and the rest of the practice we worked on our serving. So yes, sometimes you're gonna have to pivot, but it helps so much to already go in with a plan. So it's Sunday night when I'm filming this, and we only have 2 practices this week because we have a tournament this upcoming weekend. So I only have 2 practices that I need to plan, but because we have a tournament this upcoming weekend, these 2 practices are very important. Keeping that in mind, let's go ahead and walk you through how I plan my practices for the week. So I like to organize everything in Google Drive. I would highly recommend having some sort of database where you organize all of your practice planning, all of just your coaching planning in general. You can use other apps like Notion or things like that, but I just find Google Drive to be the most user-friendly and just the easiest to plan. So I'm going to go into my in-season folder, which is where I have all my practice plans. I'm going to go into practice plans, and then in my practice plans folder, I have everything organized by the month of our club season. So right now it is January, so I'm going to go into January, and I already have a document from last week. So I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate this file, and it's going to just regenerate the template that I already have for my practice plan. And then I'm just going to rename it. It is the week of the 13th, and now it is ready to go. So I'm going to go into it. And again, this is my practice plan from last week. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete everything from last week because I want to start fresh, but I still want to use the template because this is the template that I like to use for my practices. All right, so now my template is ready to go. And the first thing that we always do is our arm warm up. And that usually takes around 10 minutes for them to go through their arm warm up and get their bodies ready to play volleyball. Then I always do some sort of passing warm up, and our goal and focus is just general ball control. I always start with ball control. You can never be too good for the fundamentals, so we always start our practices with some sort of fundamental drill. I found in the last couple of practices, serve receive lanes tends to translate the best into when we do serve receive later in practice. So I'm going to go ahead and just have us do serve receive lanes for our passing warm up. So for this, I have them get into groups of 3 or 4. We have 1 person passing and then 1 person serving and 1 person target. They'll get 10 good passes to target, then they'll rotate. Also, something I forgot to mention is that I always like to have some sort of focus at the beginning of practice. I find it just helps me to 1, really be intentional about how I plan the practice, and 2, it helps the athletes to focus a little bit more about, again, what we are trying to accomplish in practice. So for this week, since we only have 2 practices, I want my second practice to be a lot more 6-on-6 focus because it's going to help us to prepare for our tournament over the weekend. So Tuesday, I want it to be a little bit more skill focused, and then towards the end, we're going to do some 6-on-6 applications. So I do our passing warm up, and then I usually do some sort of warm up game as well, just to get the blood moving. So I think I'm going to do shuttle pepper, which is basically like over net pepper, where you have to pass, run under the net, set, run under the net, and hit under the net. It works on communication and ball control. And it's also just a fun warm up game because I still want our practices to be fun. I still want our practices to be enjoyable, but I also want us to make sure we're getting things done that we need to get done. Then after that, we will break for water. And then from here, I want to go into serve receive. Now, how I do serve receive is going to depend week to week. Sometimes I'll do it with stats, and I think I do want to do it with stats, but I also want to do it with setters because our setters need to get more touches, and I just need to see who my strong setters are going into the weekend. So for this week, I'm going to have everybody serving and everybody passing. So we're going to do serve, passing line to serve. Basically, I'm going to have half of them start passing, half of them start serving. Once you serve, you run to the passing line, and then once you pass, you go back to the serving line. So everybody's going to be moving, everybody's serving, everyone's passing. So something that I just remembered that I completely forgot to put into this plan is we actually have positionals every Tuesday. So At our club, we have positional coaches that run our athletes through position specific skills on our positional day. So on Tuesdays, we have positionals from 7 to 8, and then we have our practice 8 to 9. So pretty much have to scrap all of this, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to copy this to Thursday. I still think this would be a solid warm up for Thursday. And then I'm just going to move this down here. And then what I'm going to do is we're going to delete this row, put positionals here, and then adjust the times. Then after positionals, I'm going to have them do a serving warm-up because like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, last week when we tried to do serve receive, our serving was just not there. So we're going to do a serving warm-up to ensure that we're being intentional with our serves. So we'll go serving warm-up, we'll go serve and chase style, and then they need 10 serves, 2 zones. So I still want to have a solid 25 minutes for us to like actually play. So I'm going to get rid of that, delete those. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to do rapid rotations. So this is still a sixes focused drill, but it's a little bit more slowed down than just like 6-on-6 play. And it helps us a lot with our serve receive and being intentional with how we side out. So basically they have to get through all of their rotations in a set amount of balls. So for example, I'll give them 5 balls to side out 3 times in rotation 1. Or sometimes I'll give them like 10 balls for them to side out. But what I want us to do is be intentional in each rotation about how we side out. So what they need to do is they need to get a side out with each hitter. So that means they need to get a side out with the outside, they need to get a side out with the middle, and they need to get a side out with the right side. And not only does this help us with our serve receive, it also just helps us with our setter hitter connection. And again, making sure that we are able to side out with all of our hitters. So we need 3 side outs, 1 from each hitter, and then I'll give them 10 balls to do it. So in this drill, I'll have 6 on the court, and then everybody else is going to be serving. And then once I get through all the rotations, I'll make switches to make sure I can see everybody in the positions that I want to see them in. So again, Tuesdays are pretty easy to plan when we already have positionals because that's an hour of practice that I don't have to plan myself. So with that in mind, we're going to move into Thursday. And Thursday, our focus is going to be just sixes play. So it's going to be a lot of just team focused stuff because again, we have our tournament this upcoming weekend. So we'll go arm warm up. And then again, I'm going to keep the same ball control and the same shuttle passing warm-up that I had because I still think it's a solid warm-up for us to have in this practice. So we have 10 minutes of our arm warm-up, 10 minutes of our passing warm-up, and then 10 minutes for shuttle pepper. And then we'll get some water. And then here I'm going to have us do the 1-2-1 side out drill. So basically this is kind of like rapid rotations, but it's a little bit more of them playing it out. So they get 1 serve receive ball, 2 free balls, and then 1 where they have to serve and win the rally. Basically, they're doing it in competition with the other team. You don't have to do it that way, but I'm going to do it that way so that I can get everybody on the court and see a lot of different things. So you have to win all 4 balls in order to rotate to the next rotation. It is a race to get through all rotations. So the team that gets through all 6 rotations first wins. Actually, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to add in just 5 minutes of hitting lines just to kind of simulate what it's going to be like at our tournament. So we'll go hitting lines and then we'll adjust this. The timing of all of this can be hit or miss. It just kind of depends on how things goes, but I'm not super strict on the times. Like if something is progressing a little bit faster, then I'll let it go a little bit faster. I'm not just going to prolong something for the sake of prolonging something, but if something is taking us a little bit longer, depending on if I think that drill is beneficial to our development, I will let it go longer than what I have scheduled and kind of just take out certain things. Or if I feel like we'll need to move on, then I'll let ourselves move on. So I like to add in a little bit of buffer room with those water breaks to allow for some flexibility in the timing. Basically the last like hour of practice, I want it to be just a lot more playing. So here we're going to go the correction drill, which basically means every time you make a mistake, you get 1 chance to correct it in order to not lose a point. If you make a mistake and then we give you a correction ball and you don't correct it, then you lose a point. And my goal here is just to run through some different lineups. And what I'll do after I finish recording this video, because I don't want to put that on here, is I'm going to write out some lineups that I want to see and make sure that all of those lineups get put on like the starting 6 side to make sure that I can see how everything is moving and make adjustments to who I want to see in what position. So in the last drill, we'll do just 6-on-6 normal scoring. So normal scoring, normal rotations, normal everything, again, just as game-like as possible. What I will do is, I think instead of like a game to 25, because that can be really slow, I'm going to do finish the game. So I'm going to do a couple of different scoring situations where it's maybe like 20 to 20, so it's first to 5, or it's 12 to 20, and then maybe like 18 to 15. So just putting them in different scoring situations that we might find ourselves in. And the goal is to obviously finish the game to 25. So let me actually move that over here. Again, we'll just run through different lineups. In the practice before a tournament, during the last 10 minutes, I like to have just a group talk where we go over what our goals are going to be for that tournament. I like to set goals going into the tournament so that everybody has an understanding of what we are trying to accomplish when we're going into this tournament. And then I have everybody find an accountability partner. So that means they find one person that's going to be their partner for that weekend, and they tell each other what their personal goals are for that weekend. Again, it's somebody that they can just check in with during the weekend to make sure that they are doing what they said that they're going to do, and they're holding each other accountable to everything that they said that they are going to do. And then since we're staying in hotels, I like to make sure we just go over the rules, making sure everybody knows where they're supposed to be and that there are consequences if you do break those rules. And then something else that I do at the end of every practice that I forgot to mention on Tuesday is we do shout outs at the end of practice. Basically, that's going to be where everybody goes around and they give a shout out to one person about something that they did good during that practice. And it just makes sure that everybody ends the practice on a positive note and they have something good to take away from that practice. But that is going to be what our 2 practices are going to look like for this week leading up to our tournament. So there you have it. That is a week of practices, and I know that it was only 2 practices, but that just goes to show how intentional I am trying to be with my practice plan. I'm definitely going to be doing more of these videos where I do have more practices to plan throughout the week. Because we're in club season right now, I only have 2 to 3 practices to plan per week, versus in high school season, we have practices every single day. So obviously those practice plans sit down take a little bit longer because I have more practices to plan. But if you found this video helpful, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. Please make sure to comment down below any questions that you do have. And obviously make sure to subscribe to get more volleyball education like this. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.